Welcome to another episode of the Growth Unleashed podcast, where we have conversations with founders, owners, leaders, CEOs in the wellness and fitness industry, exploring strategies for how they unleash growth in their businesses, leveraging AI solutions. With me today, I have Ana Rodriguez, founder and CEO of Selva Wellness Collective in Austin, Texas. And with that, I'd like to say hi, Ana, and thank you for joining the Growth Unleashed podcast.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me. I'm excited we get to chat today about all of the fun stuff.
All right, me as well. So let's take it from the start. What I'd like to hear is just a little bit of your story. Tell me about your roots, how you got to found Selva, and the journey of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all really starts from the beginning. I was originally born in Colombia, South America. My dad's Colombian, my mom's American. And so growing up, I had this really special experience to be able to be raised in two different cultures and spend quite a bit of time in both. It just really gave me a deep love for the way different people have different lived experiences and different perspectives on life. Fast forward, I always really knew I wanted to do psychology and started out working in hospitals. So I started out working in an eating disorder, higher levels of care, did that for a while. As you'll know, anybody in the mental health field working in higher levels of care, long hours, high acuity, it was really great clinically, but I got pretty burnt out and wanted something a little bit more freeing and a little bit more entrepreneur-like. So a dietitian and I left that hospital and started our own thing in Dallas, Texas. So we were able to create a really beautiful private practice in this old historic home. There was a porch and a fireplace and a living room and kitchen. We got to do like cooking classes. And it was this beautiful idea that we didn't want people coming to therapy feeling cold. We really wanted it to be this warm and inviting and homey space, and that was going to create the right set and setting to be able to invite people into deeper exploration for themselves. So that practice was amazing. I had waiting lists almost like a year out, had a couple of LPC associates that worked for me. But personally, I just felt a calling to change. I was there for a while. I was there for almost a decade, and I really needed kind of my own new thing, personally and professionally. So I was in Peru after an ayahuasca experience, meditating, and I heard in meditation, hey, I know you just bought a house in Dallas, and I know you have this like thriving practice, but you need to move. And here are the places to consider: New York, Sedona, Austin, and Costa Rica. I was like, okay, that's a big jump. Which one? And I heard very clearly Austin. At first, I judged myself. I was like, are you sure? It's only like 3 hours away. And I was like, yes, this is great. It's going to have the entrepreneur scene in Austin. It's going to have that holistic community that you really like. It has a little bit of that nature, but more importantly, you're going to really be able to streamline what you've been building already in Dallas and bring it there. I started a practice out of my home for a while until I found a location here about a year and a few months ago, and moved into this really cute, similar to Dallas, like funky purple house. I had a dear friend of mine renovate the whole space to be really bright and vibrant, very funky Austin, maximalist, really connected to the scene here in Austin. And the rest is history. Started hiring back in August of last year. I now have 8 clinicians offering a series of modalities from traditional talk therapy, couples therapy, EMDR, hypnosis, to ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, holistic nutrition, dry needling, and Reiki. It encompasses East, West, and Indigenous modalities in one place. It's been quite a whirlwind as a business owner.
Well, you're certainly the first interviewee I've spoken with who is currently in their business because of ayahuasca experience.
Yeah.
You told me another interesting story about what came out of the ayahuasca experience. Do you know where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I totally know where you're going. Around that same journey, I had done some really intense, beautiful. It was 12 days in the middle of the Amazon, 6 medicine sits. One of the reasons Austin was the choice was I was looking for my husband. I was doing a lot of work relationally, which is something I do now with private dating coaching. But I heard that, and funny enough, now looking back, I married my husband. We got married this past April, and that was actually the same week he moved to Austin, was the week I heard that message. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's so cool, though. I mean, that's such a good story. Okay, so you started the practice, you grew. It's been about a year.
Yeah. So I've had my private practice since 2019. For a long time, it was just me kind of co-doing it with another dietitian, but we weren't kind of in business under the same LLC. S Corp meets, how to actually have a whole bunch of people that you're responsible for. It's been about a year.
Gotcha.
And counselor. So I specialize primarily in trauma, and that really kind of blends out to a lot of things I do, like executive coaching, and I have the psychedelic piece.
I saw you do ketamine treatments and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
And too.
You do retreats as well. Very interesting. Do you do ayahuasca retreats?
We don't personally lead the ayahuasca retreats. I have had groups of clients that I will take and volunteer and be a part of it, kind of more
Yeah.
as support while they go to have the experience. And I definitely always do the prep and integration though. So we do both of those.
Yeah. One of the neat things it sounds like, and when I check on your website, you do a lot of different things. Sounds like
Yes.
amongst your 8 practitioners, you have a lot of different areas of expertise and focus, a lot of challenges to address for people, which is great because there's a lot of tools in your tool chest. But I guess the challenge that I would ask is how do you create a brand for yourself? How do you market what you all deliver? Because there's so many different things you have under one roof. How do you target the right audience to come in and see Selva as the solution to whatever their problems are at the time?
Yeah. And I would also add more barriers here in Austin that I didn't experience back in Dallas. So, first thing is just super saturated market. Austin has a private practice and it has a lot of the holistic modalities, anyways, which was actually unique in Dallas. Whereas in Austin, a lot of people have different holistic stuff. And then everybody also offers insurance versus in Dallas. So, really having to figure out, okay, now I have to shift in terms of how we want to stand out and how we want to market. So far, what we found has just been a lot of getting out in the community. Things that make us definitely stand out is, of course, like women owned, like Latina owned, queer owned. Selva is inherently a very safe space for people with different lived experiences. One of the reasons I rebranded, it was originally Transcendence Counseling, and we decided to rebrand to Selva to bring in, like, this is what makes us stand out. So Selva is the Spanish word for jungle, which
Mm,
direct translates to the whole idea of what we're getting into. So we're no longer just living in the mind. We're now living in the heart and the body, but also connected back to the earth, back to nature, which beautifully connects to that plant medicine space. When we market it that way, you'll see even in the color schemes that we use, in the kinds of clinicians I have with different lived experiences. We have trans therapists, queer therapists, people of color, different ages, all of that to really be able to do that. We offer different kinds of couples therapy, like ethically non-monogamous and poly kink focus, like some of that stuff. So
mm,
so we can get on the edges of being able to be like, hey, you're safe here, which we find our clients are really appreciative of. So for me, I might have more of the higher SES, higher paying clients who come for my expertise. We are able to offer insurance, lower cost services, and safe services for everybody, which to me feels really important in our mission and values too, is like really truly anybody and everybody's welcome here, and
mm,
to curate exactly what package you want. So if you want the nurse practitioner who's very Western and clinical and clean and clear, or you want to go to our herbalist who can help you more naturally kind of look at how to help your nervous system, you can choose. And everybody's chosen, addressed, filtered out, and they're good ethical practitioners. It's really a one-stop shop. A lot of our clients who see one of the therapists also see our nurse practitioner or herbalist or stuff like that, which is just nice for people.
yeah. Yeah. I like the one-stop shopping. And so how do you actually get that? That's great on your messaging and who you're trying to target and all that. And your uniqueness sounds very differentiating compared to others in Austin. How are you getting that message out? How are you marketing, reaching out to potential customer base and bringing people in the door? What
Yes.
mechanisms do you use?
Yeah, definitely. So we start off with traditional ones a lot of therapy centers do, which is getting out in the community and meeting other higher levels of care, going and kind of doing a lot of like coffee, like really meeting other like-minded practitioners that'll bring people, of course. But what we have been doing is I actually started off, and I've been through the gauntlet. I think a lot of business owners have of like, what's the best route? Do I pour money into Google ads? And like, how's that going to look? And that didn't work well for 6 months in, particularly because of our ketamine services. I had to go and spend like
Mm,
$6,000 to get that legit script certification, only then for Google to say it wasn't
mm,
cross-referencing. Having to deal with a lot of the tech and a lot of the empire marketing stuff was tough. We then transferred to a marketing agency that we worked with for 6 months that specialized in some other private practices. Once again, due to the ketamine, we were unable to get any ads up. So we're like, what do we
mm.
do? Like, how, especially as a new place, our SEO isn't really very highly ranked. Like, all of that stuff takes time. How are we going to do this? We've started working with a new company out of Austin that worked for big marketing companies at one point and then realized that system doesn't really serve small business owners like they wanted to. So they actually work with an AI powered service that does the marketing, redoes the website, and that's also able to track not only what the Google searches are, but also what chat's doing and different kinds of AI services. It's able to do all of these pieces. And that's been a great new way in.
Hmm.
And because it's also smaller and more niche, they're way more available to work with smaller businesses and way more available to like help really in the nitty gritty of the wording or the design or certain things like that are important to us. So that's been nice.
Using that technology, are you still putting ads out there on Meta, Facebook and Instagram?
So we don't necessarily pay for ads. We thought about doing that on Instagram. I have an okay following of about 25,000 people on Instagram. So that's been fun to build brand recognition. Mostly it's been searchability and getting out in the community and having people know we exist
Mhm.
versus really fighting some of the bigger practices that can invest thousands into Google. It's just so hard to compete in that market right now.
It sounds like the ketamine is a limiting factor as well as
It
far as
is,
what you
and I
can
was
do.
surprised because it's an easy searchable thing. It makes us stand out as one of the
Yeah.
like one-stop shops to be able to do both, very Western fits. You can come in and have the medicine like a clinic, but we also offer more of that prep and integration. So it really is a lot more holistic in how it's held. A lot of people have had a lot of harm with certain clinics for that. It's a bummer that ends up being, which I
Mm.
get, big scary words. Ketamine's a scary word right now still until we start to stigmatize it a bit more.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's a barge, a slow moving barge to get stuff like that, get traction and approvals and with all the
Mhm.
legality. Interesting. So tell me about the last year. So you rebranded a year ago.
Yes.
Obviously, personnel wise, you've grown quite a bit by bringing on 8 resources. How about the business itself? Tell me some of the successes and strategies that have worked in the past year to grow the business.
Absolutely. Successes and strategies. So in the design of how I wanted to bring in expert clinicians, why would they want to work here if they could work in Austin being so saturated was just in the creation of the design and how I supported the clinicians. That was a really big piece of how I interviewed and how I even marketed that. And that was a lot of, Facebook groups, putting it out in the community of I was hiring a lot of people, just even with the design of the space, which is actually where I started step zero. Creating a beautiful space was already a way, posting when I was posting on like the job searching and stuff, what the space looked like was such a big game changer because a lot of places are small and bare. So that got some people in the door. And then creating the system for my therapists and clinicians, very competitive, and the percentage rate that gets offered every year increased by 5%. They have a medical stipend of $200 a month, even if they're 1099s versus W-2s. They have a continuing education stipend. I myself will do certain trainings, which we already have. They get to learn because I offer so much in the 12 years of my practice. They can come and they can join my retreats. They can have the training. They can have the supervision.
That's
And so
great.
with that, as a business owner, really explore the fear of, okay, if I worked at a private practice, what would keep me to stay? Because another issue in private practices is the turnover rate of clinicians. They either
Mm.
have too high of a client caseload where they get burnt out and they leave, or they get stuck at a certain place and feel like they're putting themselves in their own glass ceiling and they end up leaving. So how do you encourage people to stay for years? How do you encourage them
Yeah.
to be committed and loyal to the brand, which is also another
Mhm.
component. So we're already in the process of doing a second location.
Okay.
Intensives are now in the works. So also really continuing to give them new opportunities and new ways to be able to make more. Now all of them are officially trained on ketamine assisted. Some of them are leading their own groups and workshops, which they pretty much just get to keep that whole percentage minus an hourly fee. Anything I can do to just support them
Mhm.
getting more. And that's been really amazing. And so what I found is there's been a couple of people that have come in quickly and left quickly. And then the people that have stayed have really invested. So they themselves have become the marketing and administrative coordinators. And the idea is I'm stepping more away because now 12 years in, I'm feeling a bigger calling than just doing the therapy per hour, every hour. I want to have time to write my book. I want to have time to start our family. I want to start doing more of what I love, which is the teaching and the trainings. So as I'm going back, how can I kind of place them in, right? Like build myself out of a job so they can lead that central Austin location. And then we can have the second location that's already being built and they can be a part of building that brand. And that's how I really sold it, part of really creating this. You can go to a new place and have a bunch of clients and be a part of it. And that just kind of, be the agreement, or you can actually really be a part of something new and your heart can also go into it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So it sounds like you've created a very supportive and growth oriented environment for the employees and a culture that everybody wants to support. It sounds like people love working there. That's great. So, how is the business following that growth? So, you bring on 8 new associates or providers. How
Mhm.
about the growth of the business itself? What have you been doing the past year to grow that?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of that has just been getting to a place where they're bringing in enough clients to be able to support itself. and just paying off debt. Last month, I was actually able to fully pay off all the business debt and just continue to be cash positive, which is amazing.
Congrats.
People say that's pretty fast after a
Yes.
year. So we've been really hitting it hard. So, business owner me, I'm like, okay, where am I going to start to finally see the benefits and not put in my own personal cash investment in these pieces yet? And oh my gosh, I'm already giving them the medical stipend. They've already hit their number for clinicians a week. I need to do this. I'm not quite at the place of feeling like this is a huge salary on me. It's still building. So it's this really big mental portal and invitation for me to trust myself, trust the
Sure.
process. And then also know business wise, they say it takes about 2 years for most people to get stable and cash positive and all those things. And we've done it in a year.
That's great. Congrats on that. Yeah, for a small business owner to be able to talk about being cash positive after a year, that's impressive. And it sounds like, so if I'm hearing you correctly, the individual providers, they all bring in their own business?
Some do. And then the rest is up to the marketing that we're doing together. We did like a Christmas market where we put a stand out and my dog dressed up like Santa Claus. So we just go out and do cute things like that. Part of them sometimes bring in a small client base, which is nice because it starts as a buffer. But the rest of it is a group project. In addition to the marketing that we're doing, how we're getting out in the community, and also their client retention rates are all really looked at. Are you able to keep the clients for a long time?
What are you doing to increase retention?
It's honestly about the supervision around how good of a clinician they are. I had a clinician who was only able to keep about 3 a week. I probably gave her over 25 private pay clients. She was only able to keep about 3 a week for about a year, which is fine. She grew her own thing on the side and she ended up moving in different directions. It seems like private practice in a group just wasn't her thing. For whatever reason, it didn't work. So that was one of the things we had to look at versus some of the other clinicians. You can tell, like, you'll get a referral from their current clients, and it's just helping you realize the way in which they're relating to their clients. They trust our clinicians. That's a good sign that I have really good clinicians. And that's a standard for me, for Selva in general. They're human-centered pieces. And that's how you build a practice. It takes time, effort, and you have to build those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think hasn't been working, or what do you think could be better as far as the tactics and strategies that you've
I
deployed in the
think
past year to grow the business?
I think if I could have done it differently, I probably would have started because I took some risks. I got a nicer property, higher rent, middle of Austin, made it look really great. I wanted a boutique feel. So we only have about 4 offices with a waiting room and a bathroom. We have one other floor underneath us that someone else rented out. I should have just rented out the home to have a lot more space. But I kind of made a fear-based choice and didn't go ahead and bet on that. So part of me wishes I would have gone a little bit bigger to have more room to hire more practitioners early on. One of the things I was naive in is how long it takes to build a caseload in this market. When I was doing it in Dallas, everybody's private pay, you have a waiting list, but it was also a different time in the economy. In the last year and a half, what's happened? There's a lot of different things. And so when I was making certain business choices, I didn't necessarily think about that. The numbers were just not getting into account the economics of it all in the time that we're at. And so the insurance rates for clients and all these things kind of changed the numbers a bit. So I would probably have wanted more space for more clinicians early on. That would have definitely been something. Or the complete opposite. Started smaller rent, just really gotten cash positive even faster, and then only had a shorter term lease, moved into a bigger space and done it. But I'm kind of like let's go up instead of safe and let's take that risk and the universe will provide.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It seems like your decision has been beneficial. It seems like things have been going great. So what's in the future? What are you looking at in the next 6 months, year going forward with Selva?
So as I mentioned, we are actually working alongside a company or a collective outside of Austin. It's about 20 minutes in the suburbs. We were able to buy this really beautiful Victorian home, still very historic, white picket fence, a lot of space, historically protected. And we're currently turning that into a wellness collective. So instead of just the clinical space, it'll have a coffee shop. It'll have like a podcast studio. It'll have events. It'll have like a little school for kids to be able to go. So it's very family friendly in orientation. And it's a part of a larger concept that I'm working with a dear friend of ours. My husband and I are both part of it, called the Ascend Project, which is going to be building mini cities all around the world, particularly starting in London. So this past January, we've been looking for castles, so bigger spaces to be able to have conscious cities. Think like Disneyland of healing, where we can have part hotel, part mental health space, places where like Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins, like big conferences can come and host that are in completely beautifully renovated castles. Selva is part of that. We're kind of doing micro pieces and we're growing them in separate places, doing proof of concept while at the same time having VCs, investors, we're looking for the bigger goal, which is coming together and building an even greater impact and a cooler, beautiful castle project.
That sounds amazing.
So we had this fun adventure in London going to check out castles. It's kind of crazy when you're like, is that my life? Like, that's pretty cool. My husband is one of the co-founders. I'm one of the co-founders. And my dear friend, Sarah Morel, is actually the owner, investor, and kind of the head queen visionary of this, along
Yeah.
with other people out of London who are amazing, amazing people.
Why London?
For its location, it's the most accessible. We're kind of looking right outside of London,
Very cool.
English speaking, lots of necessary things for the first proof of concept.
Yeah. Well, no wonder you're trying to detach yourself a little bit from the business. Sounds like you're gonna have your hands full with that one. That sounds like an amazing project. Very cool. Just to wrap it up, one quick question for you. It sounds like things are going great, and I love hearing the story of how the practice is going and evolving and this next phase of your future. If you could wave a magic wand, what would be one or two changes or additions that you would make to the business in the next 6 months or so?
If I could wave a magic wand, I would have had the location have more natural light in a more beautiful natural setting instead of in the middle of the city. Still accessible, but more modern for just the like natural light in that piece. If I could wave a magic wand, all of my therapists would be fully booked, right? Like all of my therapists would be fully booked and kind of working in this space. And then it would really bring me into an ability to truly decrease my caseload to like a minimal amount of clients that I'm seeing to be able to have more space and time for the other projects I'm doing. Not to say this project isn't amazing and beautiful and there's still so much heart to it, but it's really nice to have so much trust in the clinicians I already have and the vision and the mission of the place to know that I don't have to be there fully hands on deck the whole time for it to be successful.
Yeah, certainly a complaint that most business owners have right there.
Yeah.
What do you think is preventing your other clinicians from having a full caseload?
The ones that I've had that have stayed are pretty full. I just ended up hiring a couple of them within the last 2 months. So really it's just because they just started.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I would also say more of that. My Eastern practitioner, she's an occupational therapist. She's amazing. She doesn't offer insurance. And so there's some pieces around licensure and stuff that gets tricky when you get into the nitty gritty of it all. So really trying to find ways of accessibility and work with the extra additions of not just the therapy piece, because we've got that kind of locked down, but the extra additives like Reiki or dry needling that isn't as covered through insurance. So that's another big barrier.
What about technology barriers that are inhibiting anything?
I would definitely say the way that it's just the Wild West right now with AI in many ways. The marketing is going to have to exponentially, like, we're just going to have to keep up. And I think even with things like Google Ads, things like AI, things like making us stand out when people ask thoughtful questions on AI and how we exist, we're having to keep up to date with a lot of that. I'm currently doing different apps to be able to cut certain long talks I do and really trying to find not just chat, but all of the different things that AI are doing right now to support a business like ours. So maybe AI efficiency, like or fluency, if you will. That would be nice if I could wave a magic wand.
And I'd imagine that's probably not where you're choosing to invest your spare time, considering you
Yeah,
have
a
so
little
much
bit in
going
though.
on.
I have gotten some trainings and stuff, but definitely this is where the community and mentorship and other
Yeah,
experts help. That's where the
sure,
community piece fits in.
for sure. All right, awesome. Well, Anna, it's been a true pleasure. If anybody listening wants to get in touch and learn more about Selva and more about the services you provide and anything related to the business, how can they get in touch?
Absolutely. You can find us on our website at selvawellnesscollective.com or on Instagram, Healing with Ana Rodriguez.
Healing with Anna Rodriguez. 25,000 followers, you said, right?
Just about. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Thanks,
much for being on
Ben.
the podcast.
Bye.